All right, let's talk about something you've probably seen a million times when looking at a computer: DDR2 and DDR3. What's the deal with them? We're about to jump right into the revolution that happened inside our PCs.
You've been there, right? Shopping for a new computer, or maybe even building one, and you hit this wall of letters and numbers. They seem super technical, but trust me, the difference between them sparked a huge leap in performance. So what's the story here?
Okay, before we pit these two against each other, let's get the basics down. DDR means double data rate. Now, what does that mean? Imagine a clock signal is like a wave going up and down. Old school RAM could only send data on the way up, at the peak. DDR tech was genius. It uses both the way up, the rising edge, and the way down, the falling edge. So it literally gets twice the work done in the exact same amount of time.
So now that we've got that core concept down, let's take a look at how this awesome technology grew up and got way, way faster.
And here's our timeline. DDR2 bursts onto the scene in 2003, setting a whole new standard. But just 4 years later, in 2007, its successor, DDR3, shows up and completely changes the game. That little 4-year gap, it was packed with some serious innovation.
So let's start with our veteran, the tech that powered a whole generation of computers. Good old DDR2.
You gotta remember, when DDR2 came out, it was a massive leap from the original DDR RAM. For years, it was the standard, the go-to memory for pretty much every desktop and laptop out there. It was absolutely the king of the hill for its time. But you know how it is with technology, right? It never, ever stands still. A new challenger was already waiting in the wings, ready to take the crown.
And boom, here comes DDR3. When it landed in 2007, this was no small update. It was a total redesign with 3 big goals: be way faster, handle a lot more information at once, and, get this, do it all while sipping less power.
Okay, this is the fun part. We've met our veteran and our challenger. Now it's time for the main event. Let's put them side by side and see exactly how this fight was won.
Whoa. Okay, this table lays out all the nitty-gritty details, and yeah, there's a lot there. But don't worry about memorizing this whole thing. We're gonna focus on the 3 big differences that really tell the story of the jump from DDR2 to DDR3. First up, clock speed. This is where it gets kind of wild. DDR2 topped out around 800 megahertz. Now look at DDR3. It starts at 800 megahertz and just goes up from there, all the way to 1600 megahertz and even higher. Just think about that for a second. The absolute best the old tech could do was just the starting line for the new one. That's a huge jump in raw speed. And this really shows the next massive upgrade. If clock speed is how fast the cars on the highway are going, this number is how many lanes the highway has. DDR2 had 4 lanes, meaning 4 data transfers per clock cycle. What did DDR3 do? It doubled it to 8. So not only were the cars going faster, the highway was suddenly twice as wide. The amount of data that could get through was just monumental.
And finally, let's talk about efficiency, because this is huge. DDR2 needed 1.8 volts to do its thing. DDR3 knocked that down to 1.5 volts. Now, that might not sound like a big difference, but it's a nearly 20% drop in how much power it uses. For a desktop PC, that means less heat. For a laptop, that means more battery life. So it was faster, wider, and more efficient. A total win-win-win.
So, specs are cool and all, but what did this actually mean for you, the person sitting in front of the screen? Why was this upgrade such a big deal? It really all boils down to this. Those faster speeds meant your apps loaded in a snap, and games ran way smoother. The wider bandwidth meant you could have a bunch of stuff open at once without your whole system grinding to a halt. And that lower power use? Cooler PCs and laptops that you didn't have to plug in as often. This wasn't just a number on a spec sheet. Upgrading to DDR3 made your entire computer feel better to use. The jump from DDR2 to DDR3 was absolutely massive, and it's what allowed for the kinds of apps and games we take for granted today. Of course, the story didn't stop there. We got DDR4 and now DDR5, pushing things even further. So it leaves you with a question, right? When one part of your computer gets this much faster, what becomes the new slow part? What's the next bottleneck holding you back?